very special broadcast with my homegirl Donnie B from the Is It Just Me podcast today at 12 noon. So you can follow us on Sin Digital Media. Of course, I'll share it on my personal stream and she'll share it on her stream as well. I'll put it in a friends page and some other spots online on Facebook as well. And at 12:30 p.m., we are scheduled to get a phone call, a Zoom call from Superintendent Laura Mitchell. Now, of course, 2 days ago, CPS, that's Cincinnati Public Schools, announced their plans to the public about reopening the schools this month. So I know there's still a lot of questions. If you got questions and comments, get them ready, family. Hey, good morning to you. Welcome back. 513-873-7134. If you want to share your thoughts, this is the Nathan Ivey Show. If you're a YouTuber, like you would like to get on YouTube, we're on YouTube this morning. Check us out. If you're an audio person and you want to check out the audio stream, well, you got two ways to listen. You can listen via Spreaker, and you can also listen via the TuneIn app. So if you download either of those apps, you can listen for free, at least to the best of my most recent knowledge. I don't think they're charging you anything at all. Wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. Good morning to you, family. The last 24 hours have been spectacular for me. I'm feeling better than I have in a long time. Family is good. And I want to talk about what's going on. I want to talk about what's going on this morning. Good morning to you. What's up, Charles? Good morning to you. He's on Facebook. He writes Grand Risings, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Cleopatra Jones writes Rise and Shine, Choppers and Royal Family. Good morning to you. As always, thank you for being here. But you know where I got to go. You already know. I got to go inside the chop shop and say what's up to the folks that hold me down, the Choppers. That is an earned name. That is very much earned over the years. But let me see what the Choppers are talking about this morning. Let me go straight there. Miss D writes, greetings. Good morning, Miss D. Hey, good to see you. Ray writes, Grand Risings all. Miss D writes, Predators needs to be corrected in the title, Nate. You know what? Thank you again. I will do that during the first break. You know, I ain't perfect. I don't know. It's my computer's trying to sabotage me. CG Dub writes, good morning, Choppers. Good morning to you. Mrs. Love Being Black writes, good morning, fellow beautiful, smart Choppers. Good morning to you. Brenda writes, happy Wednesday. Kelly writes, good morning. Tanika writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. God's morning, Nathan and the Choppers from the Gym City. Good morning, everybody. The 4th Street Boys, the prosecutor, and the other white supremacists, especially those that make decision in Cincy, are the super predators. I'm just saying. Y'all don't deserve me, writes, good morning, Choppers. I'm not sure how much I can participate today. I'm very tired. There was a full moon last night. I was out doing my thing. Wolf stuff like collecting chickens from Pasadena to Medina. But hashtag alt middles here for the children. Don't cuss at your phone if you get hashtag scusted. We'll try not to. Thank you for being here. Pamela writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you. Tanika writes, I saw that baby waterboarding foolishness and I hate it. It was absolutely one of the most disgusting things I've seen online, maybe ever. You know, there was a time when people were doing the whole planking challenge, planking, and people were doing it on the side of buildings. And that had a bit of anxiety for people to watch those kind of videos because you could fall off. But I mean, like I told you, I don't suffer fools lightly. If you want to do some foolish ish and it costs you your life, so be it. Just more food and air and water. It's just one less person in line when I go to the grocery store. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But what I saw within the last 24 hours, and these are parents, mothers, black people participating in this challenge. And the challenge goes like this, family. Let me put this image back up on the screen for my Facebook fam. Let me put this out here. So look at that. Those are screenshots. Like, this ish is real, yo. I can't make this up, man. I cannot make this up. I'm going to play it for you in just a second. And I'm just saying this, you a mom? I got a few opinions about these kind of people. I got a few opinions I want to share with you this morning about these so-called moms. You a mother? You a father? And you out here waterboarding your baby so you can get, I don't know, likes on Instagram, likes on what, Facebook? These Facebook people mean that much to you that you want to put your baby at risk? And so the way the challenge is, you're sitting there with your baby, and your baby's sitting there with mom, like, oh, I'm sitting there with mom, right? You can see the faces on these are all like newborns, right? These are all like newborns. And so the parents have a water bottle in their hand, and what they do is they just sprinkle the water in their baby's faces, right? They spray the water. They'll squeeze the water bottle or just dump the water. Like you see right there, this man just dumped the water in the face of his sleeping child. And then everybody laughs at the reaction. Now, this is further, like, listen, the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing that he does for Halloween. Remember Jimmy Kimmel, late night white male talk show host? And so he started this tradition that on Halloween, he does like a challenge where he asks parents to submit videos of themselves lying to their children. Like, kids love candy. Kids will cut your damn throat for some candy, damn near. Don't get in the way of that candy now, yo. Do not get in the way. And there's nothing that a child who loves candy more than going trick-or-treating. And you go trick-or-treating, and you go out there and you get all the candy that you can possibly find, right? Like, kids will guard that with their life, yo. Man, kids will guard that bag of candy better than we guard the U.S. border. It's like the demilitarized zone. Don't F with it, man. North Korea, South Korea, don't F with that candy bag. Telling you, kids will flip out, and that's the whole fun part of it. So, like, the parents will say something like, we ate your candy. And the kids will be like, let it sink in. You did what, mama? What did you say? You're right. Some of the kids will just react, like, call them names, start cussing at them. Don't play with no kids, no candy, right? I'm telling you, that's the demilitarized zone. That zone between that Halloween bag and them children is the DMZ. Don't F with it. All right. So what they're doing in terms of this waterboarding is just 20 times worse. Okay. Let me play some of this for you. I want you to hear this.
Yeah. Don't make no sense. Yeah. Oh.
And the parents think this ish is funny. They think, I mean, how much water does it take for you to drown on? It's not a lot. It don't take a whole lot to drown. And so what parent thinks that this is hilarious? Like, oh, I can't wait to do this challenge. Could you imagine I posted this with my children? It would never happen. This is abuse. They need to be arrested. Every last one of these parents need to be arrested, and child protective services in their respective cities needs to be called. If you know one of these parents, please call 241 Kids on these parents. Because if they're doing this in public, can you imagine what they're doing when the screen is not on, when it's not on Facebook? Do you think this is hilarious? I mean, you can't even well, you're not supposed to, of course. We know the CIA will bend the rules a little bit, but it's illegal international law to waterboard adults like so-called terrorists. That's like against international law, but it's okay to do it with your own child. They all need to be arrested. At the very least, I'll say this, they need to all be investigated, because to me, if they're doing this bad decision, what other bad decisions are they making on behalf of their children? This has to be the absolutely most dumb-ass thing I've seen in a long time. These are the people that's keeping our society behind, quite honestly. Why do you have children? I guess, I think you probably think it's funny to, like, you're out walking with your kids in the park. You just trip your baby. They fall on their face. Ha, ha, ha. Oh, get up. Roll some dirt on the kid. What? You see this? I can't make this ish up, man. Now you're going too far. Now you're going way too far. Now you're going after the babies. Thank you, Pamela. Thank you, Casey. Appreciate you this morning. Now you're going after the babies with this nonsense. And I was horrified to see that black people were participating in this. Participating. A black man, no less, participating. Let me put this image back up here. You got to see this. A black man, no less. Look at this brother. That's what you're doing with your son? If you did that to my son, I'm putting these paws on you. You know what I'm saying? You think that's fun? Look how closely the bottle is to this poor little baby, this poor defenseless little baby who is sleeping next to his father thinking that's a safe space to be. When a child is sleeping next to their father, that's supposed to be the safest space on earth. This is the kind of ish that people do and they end up getting their ass beat like a college prank. You know what I'm saying? It's that prank culture. A black female doing this with her newborn. This is why you had a baby? So you could waterboard your child and then put the reaction of your child because you think it's, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I thought that we collectively, a black folks, said that the whole I can't breathe thing is a bad thing. I don't like to use the term, but this might be black on black crime. This might be black on black crime. Oh my God. What in the world is the world coming to? Now, I've been told that when I go to that second screen, I'm bringing screens up that sometimes you can't hear the audio. So I'm not even going to say anything. I just want you to watch this nonsense just for like a minute. Okay. All right. Just watch this nonsense. This is the most ridiculous thing. This is the most ridiculous thing I've seen ever in a long time. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't even watch any more of this. And you got a black man? What kind of black man does that to his child? You have a responsibility, family, that if you recognize any of the people in that video, please share this. Please share this. You have a responsibility to call 241 kids. If I knew anybody in that video, I'd be calling 241 kids this morning. You better believe it. You better believe it. This is what you're doing with your baby? Meanwhile, if you walking down, some of these same grown folks, if they're walking down the street, you know, and then another adult hits you with like a water gun, you're ready to kill them. How dare you make me wet? Not in a good way. Let's go with it. Let's go with it. How dare you wet me up? We'll go and make me. How dare you make me wet? Right? How dare you? Adults don't like it when they get sprayed with water by other adults that they didn't know or something like that because you don't know what's in the container. It could be saliva, could be bodily fluids. Get a water gun today and walk down the street and spray somebody. And don't spray them in the face because they got a weapon, they're going to shoot at you. But this is okay. It's okay to waterboard your baby for fun. The internet has gone too damn far. It's gone too far this morning, family. This is waterboarding. This waterboarding Al-Qaeda members and suspected terrorists and lying about it. I mean, they got a movie out about it on Netflix or something. I don't remember the title, but I know it's out there. There's been movies and documentaries made about this kind of stuff. But you want to do this with your own baby. We need some foster families to step up and take these children into their custody and protect them. That's what we need. That's what we need. This ain't funny. This is abuse. That's what this is. This ain't funny. This is abuse. 100% straight up and down, unequivocally. There's nothing really to talk about. There's nothing really to talk about. But what do you think? 513-873-7134. Now, if you listen via the audio, then you don't have the benefit of actually watching it. But you can go on Facebook and go to the Friends Who Like the Nathan Ivey Show, and you can check it out there for yourself. You can watch the video. You can stomach it. for yourself. This is what we doing on the internet now? So this is black folks. We go from I can't breathe t-shirts, trying to raise awareness about George Floyd and police brutality to making your babies not being able to breathe so you can get likes and you think it's funny. And if you look at the parents, the faces of the parents, they think it's hilarious. It's the funniest thing ever. They're like, oh, one fake ass, non-real mother. She had the nerve to kind of embrace her baby after her, like, oh, baby, mommy almost drowned you, but you okay. You okay. I don't understand. Make me understand this, family. I don't get it. Maurice is right. You can drown on a tablespoon of water. You know what I'm saying? You could take some water and it goes to your nose, like the bottle goes up too much. You drink from a bottle of water and you can have problems all day long. You want to do this with your child? Again, where in the hell is Child Protective Services? You know me, I don't really go like that. But in this case, something needs to be done. I guarantee that one of these kids going to end up missing. I guarantee that one of these children is going to end up missing, end up dead, end up maimed, end up in a real bad situation. You cannot call yourself a good parent and you doing this nonsense on Facebook. And apparently it's a Facebook page or group where it's all about challenges, which is cool. I love a Facebook challenge here or there. I like them. You know what I'm saying? In particular, I like the ones in which they're not abusing children. Those are my favorite. Absolutely reprehensible. It's a problem. But, the internet wants what it wants, right? You got to have content. You got to shock people. That's going too far. KR Mitchell writes, good morning, all. Happy hump day. Absolutely. Felase writes, Grand Risings, Nate and the Choppers. Where are we with the Choppers here this morning? Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. Let me get the Choppers in here. Here we go.
Get to the chopper!
Ray writes, Grand Risings. All I'm on Facebook right now. Crystal writes, good morning. Good morning to you. Always good to see you, Crystal. Dale writes, good morning, Nate. Good to see you. Hey, Renee, good morning to you. She writes, good morning, everyone. Good to see you, Renee. Kimberly writes, happy Wednesday, everyone. Same to you. David writes, Grand Risings to you, Nate, and the Choppers.
Go! Get to the chopper!
We got to get to the chopper. Greg writes, Grand Risings, Choppers, just tuning in. Felase writes, a teaspoon. David agrees with me. Agreed. Arrest all of those parents immediately. Immediately. Dill writes, stupid is as stupid does, and it's not funny. It's not funny. It's abuse. I mean, what's next? The kick a handicapped person down the stairs challenge? That's what's next? You go get your grandparents. They may be living with you now. You're taking care of them. And you just push them down the steps. Oh, you okay? You okay? I recommend the smack yourself in the face challenge for all these parents. Where you just repeatedly smack yourself in the face until you wake the hell up. How about that one? Greg writes, in that last clip you played, it looked like she just splashed her kids a bit with the water. Unless there's more of that, we're not seeing in a video. Oh, it's worse than that. The worst offender in that particular video is the black man, the brother. He's sitting next to his son. Now, how many parents out there have ever, I enjoy those moments when my son is sleeping next to me. You know what I'm saying? They feel so comfortable. You can feel the heat of their body. It's a very intimate moment. You're going to betray that moment by pulling a childish prank, like pouring water on your sleeping son's face. And you know what's so funny about it? I bet if somebody did that to him, he'd wake up ready to fight. They wake up ready to fight. But it's okay to abuse defenseless children. Tracy writes, how do you have a problem with this, but swim instructors throw babies in the pool all the time? What, Tracy? Do I need to point out the obvious? And just in case I do, I'll go ahead and do this. Swimming, teaching your kids to swim is one thing. That's teaching your kids to swim. I believe that every person should learn how to swim. I understand these grown adults that don't know how to swim. Okay. I don't get it. Anybody who's ever swam before will tell you that you're going to take some water in. You're going to have your close to drowning moment. That's just swimming. That's different than doing a Facebook prank on a defenseless newborn for ish and giggles. It seems very obvious to me. You see, Daryl writes, replying to Tracy, context is everything. What the hell? Charles writes, LMAO. Nazy's cracking up. Maurice writes, in the words of Chuck D, every brother ain't a brother. I mean, I was mortified. I expected to see women. I'll be honest with you. Seemed like a female thing to do. We can debate about what I mean. And I'd expected to see white people. But again, it seemed like a white person kind of thing to do. I'm just being honest with you. You want me to lie to you every morning? Keeping it real with you. When I saw this brother, I just, as a father, as a black male father, I was beside myself. And then he was so enthusiastic with it. He was pouring more water on the baby's face like, I didn't get enough of a reaction. You know what I'm saying? So let me just put the whole bottle. Look how close the bottle is to the baby's face. Now, if the police did that to him, he'd be saying racial profiling. He got a case. If an adult grabbed him up and did that to him, he'd probably wake up ready to fight. But it's okay to do it to your child. I'm telling you, we are living in the last days of common sense, my friends. Common sense is way, way, way uncommon, unfortunately. And with that, my friends, I got to take the first break of the morning. Think about it and react. 513-873-7134. Do you remember the term super predator? That term was made popular by Hillary Clinton.
Crime, gangs, and drugs. And we have actually been making progress on this count as a nation because of what local law enforcement officials are doing, because of what citizens and neighborhood patrols are doing. We're making some progress. Much of it is related to the initiative called community policing, because we have finally gotten more police officers on the street. That was one of the goals that the president had when he pushed the crime bill that was passed in 1994. He promised 100,000 police. We're moving in that direction, but we can see it already makes a difference. Because if we have more police interacting with people, having them on the streets, we can prevent crimes. We can prevent petty crimes from turning into something worse.
Oh, really?
But we also have to have an organized effort against gangs. Just as in a previous generation we had an organized effort against the mob. We need to take these people on. They are often connected to big drug cartels. They are not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel, and the president has asked the FBI.
Right. Well, would it shock you to know that there's a member of the command staff of the Cincinnati police force that believes that nonsense? In a recent Inquirer interview, a member of the command staff said that there are super predators at work in the Cincinnati area and essentially said that we must bring them to heel. Do you agree? We'll discuss on the other side. Nathan Ivey Show. I'm live, I'm vocal, and I'm local. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Black Business Report. I'm Joan Doniger. Black professionals who've made successful careers in finance say the road forward wasn't just filled with hard work. There was learning, too, what they didn't know they needed to know. Zenelia Harris, president of the Harris & Harris Wealth Management Group, came into finance after a career switch and had trouble adjusting to the commission-only environment.
I overheard this Caucasian woman talking about what was explained to her before she started the firm, which was not explained to me.
Harris says it would have changed everything for her.
She was given the advice to not leave her job without getting a line of credit.
Carla Harris, no relation, is vice chairman of wealth management at Morgan Stanley. Her aha moment came early in her career at her first experience with evaluation roundtables.
That's when I realized I'd made a huge mistake over investing on making sure that the work was just right and really not paying attention to building the proper relationships.
And that's your Bloomberg Black Business Report. I'm Joan Doniger.
The Nathan Ivey Show is supported by listeners. Go to www.patreon.com/Nathan Ivey Show and help Nathan keep the show independent.
Are you interested in medical coding, but not sure where to start? And scared of wasting time and resources? Let me help you with the right steps to become a certified, marketable medical coder. Learn more at bit.ly/5stepscoder.
Hello, I'm Charlie Winburn.
This is Zoe Wesson. What side of history do you want to be on? The right side, or one where black people continue to be underrepresented in Hamilton County? Now's your chance to end 230 years of exclusion. In Charlie Winburn, we have a man that's received the Cincinnati NAACP President's Award, who fought on the Ohio Civil Rights Commission for 6 years, who received the Baptist Ministers Conference Community Service Award. Charlie Winburn has received the Southern Christian Leadership Conference Award and was honored by WDBZ The Buzz as Pastor of the Month. We know Charlie Winburn, and he knows us. He's the right man to put us on the right side of history. On Tuesday, November 3rd, vote for Charlie Winburn for Hamilton County Treasurer.
I am Charlie Winburn, and I'm asking you for your vote on Tuesday, November the 3rd, paid for by friends of Charlie Winburn.
1 in 3 adults in America have prediabetes, but most don't know it. To let people know it can be reversed before it becomes type 2 diabetes, professional basketball player Julius Randle is doing everything in reverse.
I'm only dunking with reverse windmills. I drove the whole way to practice in reverse. I don't recommend it. This move's called the reverse shuffle. I do recommend it. And it took me months to learn how to speak in reverse, like this. Years 10 almost for diabetes type 2 with living Ben has mama. In other words, my mom has been living with type 2 diabetes for almost 10 years. So together, we want to say to the 84 million Americans at risk, exercise and healthy eating can help reverse prediabetes. Start by taking a simple 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Bet he can't say that in reverse.
You're listening to The Nathan Ivey Show. One man, one microphone, one mission. Now let's get back to the flow.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. I'll turn myself down. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. 513-873-7134 if you want to get your phone call in. Now, coming up at about 9:30 a.m. approximately, I'm scheduled to speak with the father of John Crawford III. And that's a brother that was killed by police at the Beaver Creek Walmart. You might remember this going back, 6-7 years ago. And he picked up a BB gun off of the shelf. A white racist named Ronald Ritchie. Let's call him what he is. A white racist named Ronald Ritchie, who's still walking around these streets in the state of Ohio somewhere. He made a biased phone call in which he lied and said that things were taking place, like that John Crawford was menacing people and pointing a weapon at children. The police showed up and opened fire within seconds, killing this man. Then it was like, oops, my bad. And we'll talk with his father. It's been a minute some years since I got a chance to interview him. There's some things going on related with his son in the Cincinnati area today. But, it'd be interesting to catch up with him and see where that case is and just catch up with the brother. Also, in the post-George Floyd world, he's a part of all of that. Good morning to you. 513-873-7134. Again, if you want to share your thoughts, you got my number. Let me start with some stories to start your morning off with this morning. All right, some stories to start your morning. Where we at here? Here we go. There we go. Okay, so I talked about this whole waterboarding situation with these children. People think it's funny to waterboard your kid, okay? If you want to share your comments about it, well, let me see what people have to say. Good morning to you. Janaea writes, the great philosophers Migos Cardi B said they'll do anything for clout. Anything for clout. Anything for clout. You're willing to even risk the life of your child so you can get some clout on Instagram. Classic bad parent right there. That's a classic new millennium bad parent move. If ever you were trying to figure out, well, how can you tell the difference, right? That'll tell you right there. I mean, I wouldn't give a damn how many, it just wouldn't even cross my mind. I saw it, and at first I didn't know what I was looking at. I'm like, okay, what is this? And then the more I watched it, the more disgusted and disturbed I got, actually. Very, very interesting. Do anything for clout. It's a certain generation. And I saw black people involved with this. The hell? I wish I had thrown some water on my kids. They probably would not have been afraid to learn how to swim. Okay, Tracy, if you say so. I don't see that one. Again, I don't see I see no equivalency whatsoever in the point you're trying to make. I mean, welcome to your opinion, but one has nothing to do with the other. You know what I'm saying? Teaching your kids how to swim is teaching your kids how to survive. Okay? Everyone should learn how to swim. Okay? Well, number one reason why my wife and I have not taken a cruise is because I refuse to take a cruise with any adults that don't know how to swim. Because think about it. Let's say the Titanic sank. So the boat's going down and I got to die because you don't know how to swim. Hell no, we ain't doing that. We just ain't going to take no cruises. Every adult should learn how to swim. Okay. And in the process of learning a new skill, you might have some issues, just like learning how to ride a bike. You're going to fall a couple times. You're going to skin up your knee. It's going to happen. You're going to go over the handlebars. Your shoe screen's going to get tight. You're going to fall on your knees. It comes with the territory. But that's trying to learn how to learn a new skill. What we see is people chasing clout and abusing their babies by waterboarding them. Completely different worlds, Tracy. Completely different worlds. Rachel writes, people are now doing the water challenge with grandparents, but they are getting slapped. Okay. I mean, if you're going to do the water challenge, you should do it with adults, not with newborns, not with sleeping children, and you pour it straight on their face. If you want to do that with your buddies and take the risk, go right ahead. That's different. That ain't even the same to me. If you want to try with your grandparents, go right. These are grown individuals that have the ability to fight back. Go right ahead. But that nonsense I just saw, uncalled for, 100%. 100% uncalled for. But what do you think? Charles writes, I thought learning how to swim was as basic as learning how to walk until I grew up. I did too. I mean, I just didn't think anything about it. Tracy writes, my kids are terrified. I tried getting them lessons twice. They never got over their fear. I never forced it. No lessons, no pool ever. Everyone's different. I have a copy of an 87-page, 28-count federal indictment in which Hillary Clinton is one of the names mentioned. Really? What kind of indictment is that? What in the hell? I don't get it. Let me see. It was filed February of this year. Okay, is this some Republican stuff? What is this? You got my ears open. I just played a clip of Hillary Clinton in her infamous, super predator speech, which helped to cost her the election back in 2016 because black folks wasn't feeling her. And a certain element of black folks were not going to vote on her because of how she reacted when she was confronted with that. But I want to compare that to the words of a member of the command staff. This is like somebody that's in charge on the Cincinnati police force that's got the same mentality. And I think it's quite interesting. We'll talk about it in a second. But first, let's go to the phones. Good morning to you and welcome.
Hey, Nate. Good morning. It's Tracy. Listen, I got to make this quick because my 9 o'clock appointment is coming.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong. I don't think in any way that this is funny. I think it's kind of I don't know what word I want to say, but I almost want to say hypocritical, because it was all funny years ago when we were all doing an ALS challenge. I think my son was like 6 or 8, and he did the ALS challenge and had a bucket of water dumped on him. You know, that stuff went around for a couple of months when all these kids and everybody that was participating had water dumped on them. No, I'm not really condoning what they did, but when I'm trying to equate it to swimming, when you have instructors that throw a newborn baby just like they're tossing a turkey in a big ass pool of water, that scares me, because, you know, the baby that young doesn't have any defenses, right? Just like these babies on this video don't have defenses. But what makes me more irritated more than these kids getting waterboarded, as you put it, because I think that's a little dramatic. What irritates me more is that we're raising a generation of kids to sit in front of videos and participate in videos and make videos because everybody does things nowadays for likes and shares. I think it's even more irritating, the video that I saw yesterday of 2 one-year-old twins. They were either 1 or 2, and they were dancing to a rap song, and one of them busted out twerking on a part of the song. That's the kind of stuff that gets on my nerves, because although you're talking about what parents do for likes and clicks as it relates to this water, they also put their kids in these kind of situations where they think it's cute and it's funny to have them twerking. I've heard kids cussing on TikTok. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes on as far as TikTok that parents could be arrested for or investigated for. But that's all I was trying to say. I don't think it's funny. I don't condone it. But I think there's a whole lot of other things that are just as bad or even worse that's going on social media. And we're raising a generation of kids who do things for likes, clicks, and shares. And sometimes they end up getting their own selves in trouble. So that's all I'm trying to say this morning.
All right. Appreciate the call.
All right. Bye.
Yeah, most definitely. That's Tracy clarifying. I think, to me, this is closer to waterboarding, because essentially that is waterboarding. The only difference is that they're not strapped down. Like, they can, if you're trying to waterboard a suspect or a terrorist or whatever, you would strap down or hold down their arms and legs so they can't move away from it. But when I saw this is a black man right here. When I saw this black man do this, and he was just so enthusiastic, it was like it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen and done in his entire life. Right? He just couldn't get enough of it. He's just cracking up. Then he goes back for more once his son sort of like wipes it away. But the essence of what she's saying, she's right. It's a lot of videos. But right now we're talking about this video. But there's a lot of videos on TikTok. I mean, do anything for clout. That's why that song was so big, because it was so true. Nothing is funnier and or more entertaining than the truth. It's always been that way. It'll always be that way. Dale writes, swimming lessons is different. I agree. Toy writes, not sure why we keep creating new ways to expose our children to trauma, but here we are, unfortunately. Woody writes, some of you new generation parents are nuts. When you say you, what you mean by you? Jane writes, good morning. I'm inside the chop shop. CJ writes, good morning, everyone. Angela's in the house. She writes salutations. Cassandra writes, hey, choppers. Pam writes, good morning, all. King Kobla's in the house. Renee is in the chop shop as well. Denise Milk and Cookies writes, morning, Nate in the choppers. Good morning to you. Fox writes, rise and shine, young stars. Buckeye Alicia writes, they are not all newborns. You're right. Some of them were a little bit older. Hi, Nathan. You're wrong for that. The U.S. border, right. Mike Jones writes, good morning, choppers. Angela writes, some of the kids are very loving. And you talking about on the Jimmy Kimmel Halloween videos? Yeah, they are. That's okay, Mom. It's okay. It's okay. Nathan, don't play this nonsense. Not interested in seeing or hearing it. I'm disgusted at the notion someone would think it's funny or appropriate. Angela writes, calling children's services is a bit extreme. I've seen videos with toddlers where they're laughing. Okay. Difference of opinion. It's all good. Doing it to an infant is questionable. I think that, I'll say it again, if anyone knows any of these parents, you have a responsibility to humanity. to call 2-for-1 protective services on these children. Because if these parents are making these kind of decisions on social media, can you imagine what's happening when the camera is not on? If you would risk your child's life because you think it's funny, and I mean, what's next? You gonna kick him down the stairs? Oh, boy, roll, tuck and roll. If you would do that, what's next? The kick him down the stairs challenge? How about this? We're not gonna feed you for a week challenge. Ha ha. Oh, look at your emaciated belly. Of course, it takes much longer for a belly to become emaciated in a week, but I'm just saying, I think it's dangerous. I think it's very, very dangerous. What's next? Let's do the hang 'em over a balcony challenge, where you take your newborn and hang 'em over to like vis-a-vis Michael Jackson many years ago, and you hang them upside down over the challenge. Oh, it's funny. Oh, they got vertigo, and you bring them back. Let's do the stick your finger in an electrical socket challenge. Oh, it's okay. You're just going to get a little, okay. You maybe learn something about electricity. I mean, it's all in the same vein. Yes. Say good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
All right.
Here's Spider-Man.
I wish it was Black Panther, but it's Spider-Man. At least there is a black Spider-Man, so I hang my hat on that. Oh, man. The babies are supposed to resort to their natural habitat in the womb. I hope babies are not being thrown. I've always seen them gently released into the water and allowed to naturally float on their backs. Yeah, I haven't seen the videos of the babies being thrown. I do know that's a practice, not one that I necessarily would subject my children to. I'm going to teach them how to swim in another less life-threatening manner. But I remember when I was teaching little Buddha how to swim, she almost drowned. It's part of it. Yeah, I mean, she was reaching for daddy, and I kept moving back. She was reaching for daddy. She went under. She came back up, and she spit out the water, and she took a second, and she jumped right back in. You know, dealing with that when you're swimming is a part of learning how to swim. You got to learn how to deal with water in your lungs and in your nose. You got to learn how to expel it. You got to learn how to deal with that. That's all part of learning how to swim. Okay. And I'm glad she learned how to swim, because if she slipped into some water, or there's a prank, somebody pushing the water, or we go on a cruise and something happens, she's going to be better prepared. Again, I don't understand these grown folks that don't know how to swim. I don't get it. Get into the water and learn how to swim. If you ain't learned how to swim to this point and you're a grown person, get into the water and learn how to swim. What you waiting on? Katie writes, not cool. My daughter's grandfather took her on a swim lesson at the Fancy Bear Paddle Swim in Oakley, and they made home for fully dunk my 1.5-year-old. He left without paying and never came back. He said all the kids were terrified and crying. This is a man that was not a gentle parent when I was growing up. I ain't with that. I'm going to teach that. That's the other thing. I don't understand. It's just some things that a father is supposed to do with their children. And one of those things on that list is to teach your kids how to swim. I don't need to take my kids to bear paddle or paddle bear, whatever the hell it's called. That's my job. Nobody's going to teach my children how to swim and give a damn more about their life than I'm going to do it. Why are you, if you know how to, maybe you're a parent that doesn't know how to swim, but if you know how to swim, then you should teach your kids how to swim. That's just something you don't trust in the hands of other individuals, in my humble opinion. I ain't telling you how to parent, though. You do you. Toy writes, skilled professionals teaching babies water skills is different than throwing water on an unsuspecting child. Throwing a child in the water during a lesson is to get them used to water, not to startle them like this TikTok challenge. Yeah, nobody's throwing my kids in the water but me. You know what I'm saying? It's just some things a parent has to do themselves. I'm going to do that. Nobody else. I just wouldn't trust anybody else to do it. Jocelyn writes, that's extreme, especially for black children. Entering our children into the system is rarely a good thing. I hear you, Jocelyn. I do. I respect your opinion. I respect everybody's opinion. Katie writes, they're talking amongst themselves. Good morning, TNT. Good to see you. Ron P's in the house. What's up, brother? Kim writes, Yes, good morning. I will never understand the thrill people even get from hurting a child at all. They're impure and innocent from birth. They look at us as their protectors. And it's sad they can't get that. I agree 100%. C.L. Taylor writes, good morning. Please take a second and share this, family. I appreciate you in advance. Let me move on. I want to talk about this article that was written by Sharon Coolidge, and it was published just yesterday. The headline reads, Cincinnati on pace for record killings. Assistant police chief says super predators need to be locked up. It's very interesting. I mean, number one, why is she interviewing the assistant police chief and not the chief? The chief is the person who ultimately is responsible for whatever happens with the Cincinnati Police Department, not the assistant police chief. So off the top, I was thinking, why are they talking to them? And will we see the mayor come out and immediately contradict or correct what the assistant chief, Paul Newdigate, said? The way he did with the police chief. Remember going back to COVID-19 when the black police chief put out a statement, the police department put out a statement saying that they may not respond in person to every little call they get because of COVID-19. They don't want to spread the disease. Looking back, sounds like it was pretty smart, huh? It was people in this audience talking about, oh, the Negro police chief. Oh, the Negro police chief was wrong. You ain't supposed to tell people that. It was the dumbest shot. It was stupid. You're supposed to inform the public about major moves. That's what you're supposed to do. And now looking back, and here we are months and months later, still dealing with the spread of COVID-19. It looks like it was the right thing to do. 2 days later, the white male Democrat mayor, lame duck mayor, who hasn't done a damn thing for anybody except for developers in FC Cincinnati and his own ass. That's all he cares about. He ain't done a damn thing. What has he done? Zero. He ain't done squat and ain't about to do anything. The last year, he's going to coast out and then try to convince us that he's better than a Republican on the state issues. That's what he's going to do. I'm talking about John Cranley. Mr. Cranley, if you're listening, can you please do something with the time you have left in office, sir? If you're listening, John Cranley, mayor. He ain't listening. Is he going to come out and contradict and correct what the police chief said, or does he agree that there are super predators in Cincinnati? When I read this, it was problematic to me. It was problematic to me straight off the top, because that whole super predators thing has been pretty much debunked as, left-wing propaganda to create a rationale to lock up a lot of black and brown folks. That whole super predator, stuff is what was part of the reason why people wasn't feeling Hillary Clinton. And she lost to Donald Trump. This fool in the White House. That's right up there with being nearly impeached. That's a very dubious distinction. You lost to a buffoon clown. And part of it was because of the history of the things that she had said and the things that she was a part of. I find it problematic because it creates a rationale, in my opinion, to over-police, to go super hard, right? Because we're not dealing with just regular criminals. We're dealing with super predators. I'll say it again. The language matters. When you're in leadership, the language matters. What you say matters, because it could set policy. It could set standards and procedures. But that's just my thoughts. Let me go straight to the phones. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, dear brother. How are you?
I'm doing great. Sister Iris, welcome.
Yeah, no, Nathan, I wanted to say, as he was saying, it's not the good part, but I was watching, and it was actually in law and public safety when Assistant Chief Lieutenant Colonel Paul Newdigate said that, which he is over the patrol division, and it is problematic for so many different reasons. But before I even get to the problem, nobody checked them yesterday, not the vice mayor. This was in the Law and Public Safety Committee. It was put into the context, and I would challenge all of the choppers to listen, anyone that's listening to your show, to go back to the city table. You can go online and look at it and go in archives and listen to in what context it was brought up. It was around the shootings in the city, and it was under the narrative of black on black crime. And so when the assistant chief said there are super predators on the street, I damn near fell out of my chair because nobody said anything. Not the vice mayor, who's a black man, not Councilman Pastor, who's a black man, not Jan Michelle, who's a black woman, Mrs. Kearney. No one checked him on that language, period, point blank. And I immediately typed it into the chop shop yesterday when he said it because I wasn't expecting that to come out of his mouth, not this day, not this time. And then to be talking about it when you're talking about people who are shooting other people in the context of getting to more police and more progressive policing, as the vice mayor put it yesterday. I also typed into the comment section that the vice mayor, I said, well, damn, the vice mayor used the collaborative word. We can do the work of the collaborative agreement and have progressive policing. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. And so it's extremely problematic when language is being used, when we're talking about the police in this day and time, and when we're trying to compare it to the collaborative agreement. The additional thing that was done yesterday was the notions of us versus them, which creates even more problems on the street. Now, while it may be said inside of City Hall, that translates to people who are patrolling our streets who believe that they're being told in code language what to do on the street. So the whole conversation, that first half an hour, 45 minutes, was extremely problematic for me, especially as we are collecting additional demand suggestions on how people want to see the Cincinnati Police Department police their communities, how they want to be engaged on this process, and to hear this language was horrible. It made my stomach turn, and nobody said anything. And so I didn't understand. I just didn't understand why his ass wasn't checked. Excuse my African language this morning, but that was just problematic for me. I didn't even know that it made to the newspaper because nobody said anything. They just said it and they just kept going. So I'm glad it made it to the newspaper. I did text the chief yesterday, but I have not heard anything back. So we will see what goes on. I agree with you. The police chief said something about I think it was the closing down the bars or something. Was that the statement that he made? And
no,
the mayor lost his mind.
Well, when he got checked by the mayor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made a statement when COVID-19 first broke out. They released a statement from CPS saying that they may not respond to all calls in person. And then 2 days later, the mayor was in a press conference and had to just check them. And, I'm like, wait a minute. It makes sense. So are we going to see the mayor or the chief come out and correct this statement or clarify it?
Oh, as I said, nobody checked them. Nobody said anything. Nobody thought it was problematic. And even the conversation was incomplete to talk about when I was listening to the vice mayor speak about, he said, when I see 57 murders and 42 black males, and I'm a black male, and it's heart-wrenching, and we're not going to defund the police and all that. But we never talked about if any of these people who were the shooters, if they've been caught. So all of this conversation is not problem solving. It's just it's divisive, inciting language that only gets you to a place where you can't do the work that we need to do collectively together because people are creating the environment of one can't work with the other. Or when you say that they're 14-year-old boys with guns. Now, there was a pivot call in Avondale yesterday about young boys with guns in Avondale. But where are the children getting these guns from? Where are they coming from? I think we have this conversation every year, and we go around and around, and all we want to do is prosecute the children, but we don't want to follow up the ladder. Where are these guns coming from? We're scared to tackle appropriate gun legislation because everybody's got one. We're an open carry state. So we don't want to talk about these things. But we have to talk about these things because when we don't, the conversations will evolve to what you have right here, which will promote unconstitutional constitutional policing on the streets. When you hear language like we have predators, super predators on the streets, and we're not defunding, and the us versus them, and in the context of black, it just wasn't good. I hope you all take a listen to it and pay attention to what is being said and why it is so important to stay on their back, why it's so important to promote a system of fairness and accountability inside of your police department. We're the taxpayers, and damn it, we demand to have better service than this. This was unacceptable yesterday. Just wanted to get my voice out there. And Nathan, are you still having a call today with Superintendent Mitchell?
Yeah, at 12 noon.
Okay. All right, great. We're still waiting to hear back from her. If anybody misses your call, hopefully they'll be in it and listening there. We will have her on Work Wednesdays, our Zoom call. We go live on Facebook. We've been talking with her, trying to figure out how to help the children and parents, and that's my goal. I will help virtually. I will help monetarily someone that needs help, and I think this is just a great time for us to be creative, a great time to learn how our children learn. It's a good time to learn how we need to learn and what we need to learn, so that everybody can stay safe and live. So that was my rant this morning.
I appreciate you. Thank you for the call.
I hope you play it. I wish you play it.
Okay, I'm going to try to find it.
That. Yep.
Yeah, appreciate you.
It's on there. All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, most def. Appreciate you. Well, so law and public, you said nobody said anything. What's the use of having black people in the law and public safety committee when things are said that would threaten the black family and they don't say nothing? They don't say nothing. You know what I'm saying? What's the use of having black men and women on city council? But and again, it matters. It matters. The language matters. These things have to be corrected and checked in real time. Because if not, it could, like she said, it could send a tacit message of how to deal with things on the streets. If you're a police officer, I don't care what anybody says, I'm not a police officer, but if you're a police officer, you're going to respond differently when you think you're dealing with super predators as opposed to you're dealing with just the crime that's happening. The super predators. And it's a damn lie. The super predators don't live here. The super predators are the ones that are transporting guns all over the country, all over the world. Those are the super predators. The super predators are a lot different, but they want to vilify black and brown folks. I thought we debunked this back in the 90s with Hillary Clinton. I thought we collectively said that kind of language is not what time it is, especially in the post-George Floyd world. What's the use of having a black man be the chair of law and public safety if all he's going to do is dance for daddy, ignore black media? And again, the question has to be asked, what has Christopher Smitherman done all this time on city council? All this time in law and public safety, what has he done? Other than be a black face for white anxiety. He's good at that. Christopher Smitherman is real good at being a black face for local white anxiety. He is so good at that. He's real good at riding on the back of Willie Cunningham's motorcycle. You know what I'm saying? Ebony and Ivory. He's real good at that. But what has he actually done as the law and public safety chair? What has he actually done? It might be a lot. I asked this question. Now, he can't run for re-election. There's some thoughts that he might run for Hamilton County Commissioner. And if that happens, you better believe if I'm around, I'll be asking that question with no fear and no tears. Like some of these other cats. No fear and no tear. What have you done, sir? None of them checked it, Jan Michelle. What's the use of having a black female on law and public safety if you ain't going to check them when they saying something that could be potentially dangerous? Super predators? Assistant Chief Paul Newdigate needs to be educated. Now, maybe he might say, listen, Nate, I'm on the streets. You don't know what I know. And he's right about that. I definitely 100% put my hands up. Don't shoot. You're right about that. But you're not a black man living in America either, Mr. Assistant Chief Paul Newdigate. So you're not as sensitive to this kind of language as I am. So maybe we both can be corrected this morning. What do you think? 513-873-7134. It's ridiculous. Let me go straight to the phones. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, comrade.
Hey, what's going on? Black Russia.
What's that?
I'm good, brother. Welcome to the show.
Look, thank you. I'm not really happy with you or Iris this morning after I heard that call.
Okay.
Because we'll talk about it you in a minute, but Iris sounds like she's more mad about the word super predator being used than all these black men being shot in the streets.
I don't think that's fair to
concerning
say.
To me. No, it's absolutely fair to say that. Now, we're talking about language. She's talking about language, and they're talking about black men being shot in the streets. That's the conversation. She's talking past what's going on down there because she's so focused on the word super predators. Okay, in the context of black people shooting black people. Jan Michelle, the vice mayor, I think Jeff Pass is on that committee too, right?
Yes, he is.
On public safety. So you got 3 out of the 4 people in the room are black, right?
Yes.
And they said nothing when he used that term, right?
Right.
I'm sure all 3 of them have heard that term used before.
I'm sure they have.
Okay, so let's analyze why they probably didn't say anything.
Okay.
Why don't you think they said anything?
Why don't I really could only speculate, and I hesitate to do so because my speculation would be quite harsh. So I don't know why. That's a question for them. They're elected officials. 2 of them, I'm sure, will be seeking re-election soon. So that's a question for them, not for me.
Well, you've already been harsh. I'm just saying continue.
Yeah.
You talking about people buck dancing and every. I'm like, what are you talking about, bro? We're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, Smitherman buck dances when he goes on white radio in Cincinnati. Everybody knows that.
Nah, it's not buck dancing, bro, because actually African Americans listen to 700. As many people as listen to your show, half of them listening to 700.
Yeah,
so
and they're listening to Christopher Smitherman buck dance. He's buck dances for daddy.
Nobody's buck dancing, bro. It's called providing information. That's what it is.
You can provide information without buck dancing for zaddy.
All right, well, you can say that, and that's cute. But I really wasn't calling about him specifically. I was really calling about the fake outrage that I respond to this radio about super predators when black men are getting shot dead in the streets. It's like, who made her the authority to speak for black people about what they should be outraged about? It's disingenuous. It's disgusting. And I'm mad as hell. That's all I wanted to say. Have a good day, Nate.
Thank you for the call. Well, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that. What I heard was Sister Iris and her extensive experience working with this in front and behind the scenes, sharing her personal yet educated and experienced position this morning. I mean, I can't speak for her, but I don't think that she would think that she speaks for the entire black community. I've never heard that. But I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. I get it. But yeah, I mean, back to Smith, I mean, he buck dances on 755 KRC. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows this. You can call it what you want to call it. That's what it is. I dance for massa. And you didn't answer the question as it relates to Mr. Smitherman. What has he done? What has he accomplished on city council other than sowing a lot of division, talking about ish that don't matter, like text messages? That's all I hear. In terms of policy, what has he accomplished? What has he sponsored? What has been passed? Is he a leader, or is he just on council taking up space? This is my opinion. The city of Cincinnati will be well better off when he ain't on there no more. Because perhaps we'll get somebody down there that's less about self-promotion, that's less about buck dancing for zaddy, that's less about not actually producing policy. That's what they're down there for. It's real easy to sign on to other people's policy, but what have you created? What have you sponsored? And what has your leadership actually gotten passed? Again, I haven't done the research. I'm speculating. I can't think of nothing. I'm sure there's something like, he led the effort to go from what? Or he was a part of the effort to go from 4-year terms to 2-year terms. Way to go. Gold star. As for Jeff Pastor, I can't tell you why these individuals, I can't tell you why any of them didn't speak up. I can only speculate, and my speculation would be very critical and harsh. I don't know. We got to ask them. We got to ask Jan Michelle Kearney. Why didn't you say anything? She may have a reasonable reason why. She might say, I didn't think it was a problem. Okay. You ask Jeff Pastor, he might say, I didn't think it was a problem. Okay. But that's a question for them, sir, not me. But again, we can always agree to disagree. I hear you. I hear you on that. And I think it's false to say that well, just speaking for myself, to say that I care more about because I think you're missing a lot. So let me close the dots on this. I think it's false to say that I'm more concerned about what was said than I am about the crime in the community. Number one, I hate that term black on black crime, because when you start there, you're already failing. Just using that term off the top is already a failure. But again, I can see the complexities of this. This ain't just black and white. There's a link. This man is a assistant chief. It's troubling, it's alarming, and it's problematic. It's potentially lethal to somebody out there for a leader on the command staff of the Cincinnati police force to be using the term super predator. Is he doing this because there's a backlash against the defund the police movement? Is that what it is? Is it whatever it takes to rationalize or to argue against the whole defund the police movement? If we got to say they're super predators or whatever, okay. Listen, I'm going to say this again. We can take it from the top. And again, law enforcement, they deal with like law enforcement, so that's different. But to the politicians, if you really care about crime, then we have to deal with the underlying issues that creates those environments. We can't deal with one without dealing with the others. I think Sister I was right. You know, a black kid in Avondale gets a gun, all of a sudden it's, oh my God, we got a problem. How the guns getting here? How are the guns getting to our community? They keep getting here. What are we going to? Shot Spotter can't stop that. We got Shot Spotter, but we need Gun Dealer Spotter. We don't have that. Who are the major arms dealers working in this part of the country, this part of the continent? Those are the real super predators. So I just feel like here you are militarizing the minds, the young impressionable minds, the minds of the rank and file police officers with this super predator nonsense. And if you're a police officer, in my mind, tell me I'm wrong. You're going to respond differently to a super predator than you would somebody that's a common criminal, somebody that's committed a crime. Why do we got to go overboard with it? You know what I'm saying? But when we dealing with black folks, that's what we do. The black on black crime and the super predators and all this kind of stuff. Didn't nobody say that when them white folks killed them family members up north in Ohio, they didn't call them super predators. But when we dealing with black folks, we got to bring out the extra language and militarize the police. Again, you may not see it, sir, but I see it very, very clearly. What is your thoughts? 513. That's how John Crawford III got killed, because they thought they was responding to a super predator. Oh, but mistake. It was just a BB gun, and it was a white lion-ass racist white male that called and made that biased phone call that led to the death of that brother. So I see there's a connection. The language that leadership uses matters. The language that leadership uses in public matters. We cannot overlook that. We cannot overlook that. But what do you think? 513-873-7134. Jasmine writes, but the man who shot up a movie theater isn't considered a super predator? The man who shot 9 people at Mother Emanuel Church while they were praying for him, he isn't a super predator? White serial killers get idealized in Netflix specials, but we are considered the super predators. Miss me with this mess. 100% facts all day. It's just funny who we label super predators. You know what I'm saying? Facts, Jasmine, facts on facts on facts on facts. Just pile the facts to the sky, right? As far as the eye can see, facts. You know what I'm saying? All day long. Let me see. Lennis is announced. She writes, good morning, Brother Ivy. Good morning to you. Law and public safety is supposed to be in charge in response to COVID-19 when you have a police force telling the public what they not going to enforce during a national pandemic is revealing on who is leading who. C.L. Taylor writes, super and synonym for black in this case. Woody writes, little Smitty still loves the massa. I listened to him before. I hate his interviews when he goes on. I'm talking about Christopher Smith, man. It's hard for me to listen to him because I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to get in good with the audience, and he's done that. But I feel like he's allowed himself to be disrespected in separate interviews. I heard one interview where the male host, who Smitherman just has so much affinity for, Billy Cunningham, made this analogy or something about him being on the back of his motorcycle. And yeah, me and Christopher are on a motorcycle, just motorcycling the streets of America, ebony and ivory. He's on the back. I'm riding I'm on the sticks. He's on the back. I'm like, and he ain't say nothing. So I ain't surprised he ain't say nothing when Paul Newdigate said that. A Chief Ned, that's what he do. He ain't gonna ever say nothing because it fits his overall agenda, right? Which is, I guess to set himself up to run for Hamilton County Commissioner next year or a year after that. I think that's what it's all about, but who knows, man? Fools do what fools do. I don't spend too much time on it. Toy writes, I think part of the issue with the Public and Safety Committee, and there's a lack of knowledge about the organizations, under the committee. As a criminal defense attorney, I could check Newdigate because I have just as much institutional knowledge and experience on the subject. Watching the committee meeting, they don't seem to have the knowledge base to oversee the committee. So they can't check what they don't know and understand. Interesting. Something to think about. But as black people, they know the history of that term super predator. You know what I'm saying? So when Hillary said it, everybody had a problem with it. But when the assistant chief of Cincinnati police says it, we just gonna go with it because there's an uptick in murders. There's an uptick in murders because of COVID-19. We all know this. It's bringing out the worst in us across the board in all ways. It's bringing out the best in some cases, and in some cases, unfortunately, a lot of cases, it's bringing out the worst. We already know this. The police were not responding the same way they were before. It leaves a gap. Everybody's got super high anxiety, but the street game continues. Why has it got to be some kind of rocket science? We don't understand what's going on. Just ask your mama. Ask your family members that's shut in, a high anxiety, prescription drugs, cannabis usage through the roof. People trying to cope. You know what I'm saying? It seems pretty logical to me, but I'm just a guy on the internet. What do I know? Dale writes, I haven't lived in Cincinnati since early 2005. What happened to him? You talking about who? What happened to who exactly? This coming from the man who was fake outraged when Hillary used the language and made sure black people knew this. Made sure black people knew this is not to vote for her. And now he is upset with Iris. Please buy BR. Did he? I don't remember if he was super hard with anti-Hillary because of what she said. All I know is that we universally condemned Hillary Clinton and that super predator comment, right? Universally. Well, if it was bad for her, it was bad for the current assistant police chief of Cincinnati. And nobody said anything. They just sat there like, we're afraid, I guess. I don't know I can't really speak for other people. I don't want to speculate because my speculation would be very harsh this morning. Hey, listen, before we go too far, I want to remind you that I'm doing a special joint broadcast today with my homegirl, Donnie B. We'll be talking we're going to kick the conversation off at 12. So you're more than welcome to join the conversation at 12. And we'll be talking scheduled to speak with Superintendent Laura Mitchell, the Cincinnati Public Schools Superintendent Laura Mitchell. We'll be talking about the plans to reopen, among other things. Okay, so join us. When you see the live stream on this page, also on Sin Digital Media's page on Facebook, please join the conversation. Please join the conversation. It's coming up later today. Appreciate you. All right, I'm expecting a phone call from a guest this morning, but you know what? This is a great time for me to get in the second break of the show. All right, so let's do that, and then we'll come back and we'll get back to our chat and get back to our conversation, okay? It's the Nathan Ivey Show, the last honest place in Cincinnati media. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Black business next coronavirus aid package. It's something Wall Street's watching very closely. The Dow rose 164, the Nasdaq 38, the S&P 12. Black-owned businesses have been hit far harder by the coronavirus than other businesses. The New York Federal Reserve says black-owned businesses are failing at a disproportionately high rate and are generally located in areas both hardest hit by the coronavirus and the least likely to receive federal aid. If Wall Street banks are too big to fail, many black-owned banks are too small to succeed. There are only 21. Michael Render, the activist and rapper known as Killer Mike, is trying to change that. He's urging fans to #BankBlack. The largest black-owned bank, One United in Boston, has attracted $50 million in new deposits as a result. And that's your Bloomberg Black Business Report. I'm Joan Doniger.
The Nathan Ivey Show is supported by listeners. Go to www.patreon.com/Nathan Ivey Show and help Nathan keep the show independent.
Are you interested in medical coding, but not sure where to start? And scared of wasting time and resources? Let me help you with the right steps to become a certified, marketable medical coder. Learn more at bit.ly/5stepscoder.
Nathan Ivey Show is supported by listeners. Go to www.patreon.com/Nathan Ivey Show and help Nathan keep the show independent.
This is the Nathan Ivey Show.
The Nathan Ivey Show is supported.
This is the Nathan Ivey Show. Get ready to be engaged. Get ready to be informed. Get ready to be a lion. Get ready to be enraged by the man City Beat Magazine called a talk radio rebel. And your host. Now back to the show.
Zoe Wesson. There are few times in life to make history. Hamilton County was founded 230 years ago, but has never elected a black county treasurer. It's time for change. Elect a proven, trusted, experienced candidate for Hamilton County Treasurer, Charlie Winburn. We know Charlie, and he knows us. Charlie Winburn was the former chairman of the Jobs and Growth Committee on Cincinnati City Council under the Honorable Democrat Mayor Mark Mallory. Winburn led the fight to keep 2,000 U.S. postal jobs in Cincinnati. He also fought for wage increases for thousands of city employees, especially our sanitation workers. Charlie Winburn will safeguard more than $1.4 billion in real estate taxes and will increase new home ownership and new jobs. On Tuesday, November 3rd, vote Charlie Winburn for Hamilton County Treasurer. Let's make history together.
I am Charlie Winburn, and I'm asking you for your vote, paid for by friends of Charlie Winburn.
You're listening to The Nathan Ivey Show. One man, one microphone, one mission. Now let's get back to the flow.
All right, good morning, family. Welcome back. Thanks for being here this morning. Please take a second to like and in particular share today's show with your social media friends and family members. It means everything. Do it for the culture. Do it for the expansion of black digital voices in the greater Cincinnati area. Good morning to you. Nathan Ivey, 513-873-7134 is my number. And we've been talking about numerous things this morning. Okay. I'm talking about numerous things this morning, and I'm scheduled to speak with. I have a guest scheduled, and I want to make sure we bring this brother on. It's been some time since I get a chance to talk to him on the air, but we're going to speak with Brother John Crawford. Hey, John, are you there this morning?
Yes, sir. I'm here, brother.
Hey, how you doing this morning, sir? Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, absolutely. I'm hanging on. I'll put it that way.
Hanging on. Okay. Absolutely. Well, this morning I've been talking about numerous things and also setting the table for you to come on the show and talk about what happened with your son. I know that today there's going to be something special happening in the city of Cincinnati. Can you, for the members of the audience, just kind of briefly, very briefly, just kind of update us on what happened with your son and then what's going to be happening today?
Well, you know, my son was the young man who was assassinated, murdered August the 5th. This marks the 6th year of his death date. And so, you know, he was a young man at the Walmart in Beaver Creek, Ohio, who picked up an airsoft rifle while shopping, and in our field we call it swatting, whereby somebody fabricates a story, calls in 911, and the police react on that call. And a guy by the name of Ronald Ritchie, you know, he fabricated this story that my son was in the Walmart holding up people, was ready to pointing the gun, aiming it at people, was ready to discharge a weapon. And so, unfortunately, you know, the police came in without assessing the situation and doing what they should have done, following proper protocol. And once they sighted him, and within 300ths of a second, he was shot, killed. And so today we commemorate him. We'll have every year, we do this every year at Beaver Creek, around 6 o'clock, starting around 6 o'clock. We celebrate his legacy. And we're still fighting part of that case. We actually have a court date set for November for the Walmart lawsuit. So that's kind of where we are. In the meantime, we've been working on, of course, reform in the sense of actually sitting down, putting pen to paper. I've been working closely with Nicole Taylor, Vice Chair of Criminal Justice Division of the NAACP. She and I started this reform almost immediately, you know, some 6 years ago. And we have since, we've endorsed the policing bill that was set before the House, Congress a few weeks ago, that was passed overwhelmingly by the House. It's just that the Senate is going to be the issue with that. But we also have a law. Our proposal works in conjunction with the Justice of Policing Act of 2020 that was kind of spearheaded by Congressman Hakeem Jeffries up in New York. Our proposal has many of the same items. It's probably a bit more comprehensive, frankly, than the Justice of Policing Act, but they're kind of one and the same. And so that's kind of what we've been doing since then. And I will encourage anyone who's fighting for the cause for justice and accountability regarding police and just oversight in general to go to change.org and Google or type in the John Crawford III law. If they would do that, if they would go to change.org and type in John Crawford III law, they will, you know, that proposal will be there. You know, so I will encourage our listeners to definitely take part of it.
I'll definitely post a link. I'm in right now. Okay, I see it. Well over 100,000 supporters. Absolutely. And shout out to you. I know TNT and the NAACP locally have been pushing that. I 100% agree with it. 100%. Was Ronald Ritchie the man who, it wasn't reckless, it was a lie. He knew it was a lie. Was he ever brought to justice? Was he ever charged?
No. They basically, after several of the activists around the Springfield, Dayton area, they actually filed affidavits on Ronald Ritchie. I believe it was in Xenia. And the judge initially, she said that she didn't get a clear understanding or a clear copy of the video. So, of course, we provided that later on. And once she said she saw the video, without a doubt that he could be indicted for inciting panic and some other charges that was discussed. And she actually told I don't know, I can't think of the prosecutor at the time. I know she's a female, white female, and I just can't think of her name, but she actually gave her an order to indict Ronald Ritchie on those charges. And all she did was basically gave the case, the prosecutor gave the case back to Mark Pietmeyer, who works for, at the time, Mike DeWine, who's now the governor. And they, so nothing became of it. So here we have a prosecutor basically undermining a judge, and that's all bad. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm on my way to another interview, and I didn't know that thing was on because I really don't know where I'm going. But that kind of, to answer your question, short term, no, he was never brought to justice, and he's still an item on our agenda. He actually fled Ohio and moved to Florida, and I don't know if he's still there or he's back yet. But we're always in the know of where his whereabouts.
That's good to hear because, well, you know what, maybe, I'm working some things along the same lines in the city of Cincinnati, or the state of Ohio. I want to reach out to you and kind of share it with you, and perhaps it might be something that we can work on to prevent this from happening for somebody in the future in the state of Ohio, and to put some real teeth in the laws in the state of Ohio for this kind of behavior. These people are incorrigible until we actually show them that you can end up in jail and deal with some real consequences yourself. But you mentioned Mike DeWine, and Mike DeWine played a factor in all of this because he was the attorney general at the time, right? What was your opinion about how he conducted himself in this particular case? Hey, Brother Crawford, I think we got disconnected. Are you still back on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
We got disconnected.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to while I'm talking. I apologize to the listeners. On my way to another interview also, and I'm trying to do as many as I can and just kind of accommodate the people because they want to know the story. So I'm just trying to multitask and get everybody where I can.
I understand. No worries. I appreciate it. You got to do what you got to do. Right. But my question is, can you give me your thoughts? Because Mike DeWine, who's the current governor now, he was, right, when your son's case was going on, the case that surrounded your son was going on, he was the attorney general. Is that correct? Of the state of Ohio. No, and in your opinion, how did he conduct himself, during that case? Just to refresh people's memory.
Well, frankly, he lied to me just right out because he told me he was going to, I met Mike DeWine when it was time to actually view the video footage of my son being killed. That was my first meeting with Mike DeWine. He came to Dayton, and we viewed the video, and so that was my first impression. He came to me, he told me that he gave his condolences, of course, and followed the proper protocol, if you will, and then he informed me that he had a similar situation with his daughter, that his daughter had been killed, this, that, and other. Only later to find out that wasn't quite the case. His daughter, I believe, died in a car accident. That's not quite the same at all. A murder versus a car accident. But he told me he was going to do the right thing. He said, I told him, I said, Mr. Attorney General, you got a job to do. And we can clearly see that the video confirms what we already believed, and that was that my son was innocent. He didn't know of the officer's presence. He had the pellet rifle, and the crazy part about it, the pellet rifle was even in the down position at the time he was actually shot. So at no point in time was there a threat at all. And of course, they tried to change the narrative by saying that the pellet rifle, they didn't know if it was real or not, which had absolutely nothing to do, no relevance whatsoever with the outcome of what took place. You know, had anything to do. You're in an open carry state, so it's irrelevant. So he was just, I guess, trying to be elusive, if you will. he helped cover it up as far as I'm concerned. He didn't do at all what he said he was going to do. He actually, he got a special prosecutor, that's Mark Piedmeyer, in a different county. Mark Piedmeyer is out of Hamilton County in Cincinnati, and he was the one who prosecuted the case. And so, I don't think that he understood that, that my background at the time of what I did. My whole background is in criminal justice, and so I don't think he understood that I knew what I knew regarding that making Mark Piedmeyer the special prosecutor, making him seem like that he was going to do the right thing, and Mark Piedmeyer didn't do the right thing. He didn't go and give the evidence unbiasedly. On one hand, he said that my son was innocent and he didn't deserve to die, which he's absolutely right. He said John Crawford III did not commit a crime. He did nothing wrong that day. But yet there was still no bill, no indictment whatsoever. So you said all that, but did you say that in the prosecutorial proceedings, which are, they are proceedings that you cannot, they're ex parte proceedings, meaning you can't go in there, So obviously what he said to us and versus what he said in the prosecutorial proceedings were totally different, because we came out with no bill. There was no indictment. And so I think he's, I don't trust him. And again, he just flat out lied to me. And so I have no respect for people like that. The cover up with Dennis Evers was the same way. They framed the story. The initial 24 hours, Dennis Evers was supposed to have given us a press conference, which turned out to be nothing more than him making a statement supporting the actions of the police. So all of those guys are despicable to the badge and what it should represent. Real policing and peace officers, they're despicable to me. I have absolutely no respect for people like that.
Speaking with John Crawford, unfortunately, his son was killed by police at Beaver Creek Walmart. Was it 5 years ago today or 6 years ago today? 6 years ago today. So, man, I do know that, and the officers involved were totally cleared. Is that correct?
Well, right now, there was no indictment or anything with the officer. Yeah, that's correct.
Right. So
But the saving grace is that it's not necessarily over, because you still have, that's on the civil end. On the federal end, we can still prosecute. We can still go after them. So I just want to clarify that.
It's interesting, man, because a lot of people don't know about the situation with your son, because didn't Ferguson happen like right after that? And then that kind of shifted all of the attention. And then Hillary Clinton, who has some ties to Walmart, was running for election for president. Did that all play a part in sort of like, taking attention away from what happened with your son, in your opinion?
Well, a lot of it did, especially, Michael Brown was killed 4 days after my son. So the 9th of August of 2014. And so once that happened, my son didn't get killed on the street. He got killed in the biggest retailer in the world. And we were the only case with corporate America affixed, if you will, to the case. And it happened to be the biggest corporation in the world, Walmart. So obviously, when Michael Brown was killed, that kind of overshadowed our case, because it was in the street and Ferguson reacted, so that was it kind of hurt our case in the sense that, it took the attention off of it. And that was, if you were Walmart, that was great for you, because we had one of potentially the biggest civil lawsuit cases in the country. And being Walmart, being at Walmart. And so, yeah, for obvious reasons, they were probably elated that the tension was off of them, per se, and on to someone else.
Speaking with John Crawford, Did what was Walmart? I don't remember this. That's why I'm asking. But what was Walmart's initial response? Did they make a public statement? Did they ever reach out to you privately and offer condolences? Because they played a role in this as well. It happened in their store with their merchandise.
Right. We have not heard anything from Walmart. There was they never gave us a formal apology. That was one of the things that a lot of the activists were demanding, for us, that Walmart needs to make a formal apology to the Crawford family, especially. Excuse me one second. Okay, so they never reached out to us. Initially, we got word that they said that they wanted to settle the case, but and so we mediated, and it wasn't the case. It wasn't the case. They weren't trying to. It was ridiculous figures that they were talking about. It was, frankly, it was just embarrassing, the whole process, the mediation process, and we were deeply offended. All 12 of my lawyers, I think, were there. 10 of them were there, and everybody was just offended by Walmart's representation. So Walmart hasn't tried to do anything.
Something for people to keep in their minds as they're shopping, most certainly. Speaking with John Crawford. So do you think that the current moment that we're in right now, post Breonna Taylor, young woman that lost her life after a no-knock warrant was executed in Louisville, post George Floyd, the man who died after an officer kneeled on his neck for 8 minutes, is that, number one, how do you feel about that, considering your experience? And then two, do you think it'll have any effect on your current civil cases and moving forward?
Well, I'm gonna answer it. I'm gonna answer the latter first. I sincerely hope it has some effect on it, in a positive light, because that's something that we need to. These cases don't need to go down in vain, Again, I apologize to the listeners for, I'm on the road, but I'm hoping that a change of heart, if you will, a spirit, those cases, because they're undeniable. What you saw, just like with my son, what you saw on the tape, that's what you saw. You can't argue with that type of objectivity. There's no justification. And so, in that sense, my hope is with that and us putting the pen to the paper, as far as proposals being out, I'm hoping that there is some change. That's the whole point of all of this. I'm hoping that one of the items on the agenda is sanctioning. I'm hoping that we need to sanction these people who are rogue officers, are in the profession for the wrong reasons. We need to sanction them. That's what's not happening. And so, yes, I'm sincerely hoping that when all of this is said and done, hoping that they take action, they being Congress, either from the federal level and the state level, take action towards reform, true reform. So that's one of the things that we are definitely hoping for.
And again, considering your experience with your own son, what's been your reaction? How do you feel about this current moment? Everyone in the street, people calling for, defunding the police and serious reforms.
Yes, no, I support all of that. I support most of it anyway, because everybody's just trying to, frankly, figure out what is it going to take. Which avenue do we have to go to get justice, to get accountability served towards these wrongdoings? So it's kind of all of that is relevant. I don't want anyone to think, even the marching, you're here, it's relevant. Everything has its place, but in the final analysis, none of it's relevant if you don't have sanctions. Because if we took a look at it from the standpoint of, we have enough understanding of the law, especially the Fourth Amendment, as it pertains to, lethal force, and you must be at imminent risk and danger before you engage in lethal force. We have enough understanding in the law that we know that you can't just arbitrarily go and kill people. You know, the problem is that they're not enforcing the law. You know, the prosecutors are not enforcing the law on the wrongdoers, on their own people. And so that is the problem. So we must have a way to help them help us, help them help us serve, do their job. You know, they are people in service. The taxpayers pay the police salary. You know, so until we get that cleared and taken care of, it's going to be business as usual. It's going to be a perpetual cycle because there are no sanctions given.
And then the other part. Sorry, sir. Go right ahead. Finish your thought.
No. That's all I was saying. You know, until we get some sanctions going on, they're going to continue to do it.
And the other part of that perpetual cycle that I see even in Cincinnati is perpetuating the us versus them motif, right?
Absolutely.
Because all that does is make people dig in even more and resist reforms. So how do we, and again, you worked in law enforcement, how do we get beyond that? Because it seems like the politicians and those that want to politicize things, that's the first thing they go to. Us against them, us against them. Defund the police. Oh, you're trying to eradicate jobs. Us against them. Right. And all that does is make people back away from the table of compromise and dig their heels in.
Right. And the only way that's an excellent point. In fact, verbatim, you're using verbatim on some of the interviews that points that I try to point out is, yes, that us against them mentality. The only way you can kind of combat that, one of the ways you combat that is still with sanctions, because the sanction is not going to allow, you have to understand the cultural aspect of it. Part of that is embedded in the culture, you know, all the way back from the patty rolls, the slave catchers, that's the kind of mentality they had then. You know, it wasn't about being a peace officer. It was about going and catching a slave and bringing him back to the slave master. You know, so some of that is ingrained. It's in the fabric of law enforcement. But the way that you change that, obviously, is through education and through diversification and putting the right people into place where you can change that ideology, because it's not us versus them. It's us serving the community, serving the people. And by chance, unfortunately, you are going to have situations where that requires lethal force. You know, unfortunately, that's just part of life. You know, society. That you're going to have some sick individuals out there that you will have to, in order to neutralize the situation, that you will have to, use lethal force. But that should be the exception and not the rule. You know. And so, yes, that mentality definitely has to change. And one of the ways that you can change it is through cultural diversification and education and having the leadership that warrants it not being executed. Simple as that. You know, an administration, that could be an administration issue. Hey guys, it's not, we are peace officers. Our job is to take care of the people. You know, and by chance, if we get in a situation where we have to use tactical force, we know how to do that also. But again, that's the exception and not the rule. They have kind of inverted that and made that the rule and not the exception. And so you have to kind of track where that ideology is coming from. A lot of that's coming from leadership. Who's leading who's your police chief? You know, that sort of thing, you know. So absolutely, that is part of the problem. That is the root of the problem, actually, and not having sanctions, because the sanctions keep everybody honest. That's the reason why civilians don't kill police. You know, they know that if they do, it's a death sentence either way. If you're convicted, you're gonna get life imprisonment without the possibility of parole or whatever capital punishment your state deems, be it lethal injection, electrocution, what have you. You know, so it's the fear factor, if you will. And right now, the police just don't have any type of fear, any whatsoever.
Well, I want to say this. I'm working on a statewide policy initiative that might address the scenario that cost your son his life. Can I contact you after the show, away from the microphones, and get your thoughts about it? It may be something you might want to support. I really appreciate your insight. And then let me read a few comments here. Angela writes, if folks are still shopping at Walmart, shame on you. She writes, my daughter thinks I'm nuts because I don't even want her to gift me anything from there. She writes, the wine effed up this entirely. You know, just to go back again, just so we clarify and I have it fresh in my mind, there was some controversy over the release of that Walmart video. It was delayed. Do you have that fresh in your mind? What was the timeline? I mean, it came out damn near at the end of the whole investigation. And it seemed like it was done so because once we saw the video, we realized that your son didn't do anything wrong. He didn't point the weapon at anybody. He wasn't a threat whatsoever. He was the victim of a racist 911 call. But what was that timeline? And again, DeWine is the one who made that decision. Is that correct?
Yes. The timeline was roughly, it took us about a little bit shy, if my recollection serves me correctly, a little bit shy of 2 weeks to get the video footage. And basically, he said his concern was that he wanted to hold it because it would taint, it could possibly taint the process, it could taint the evidence or taint the process. And actually, his words were to the effect that if he released it, that would be like releasing a time bomb, you know. So he felt some type of way that the people were going to, obviously, in making a statement like that they were, it would have been another Ferguson before Ferguson happened, you know. There would have been an uprising.
Right. And that's the impression I got. This whole tainting, I mean, people see what people see. You know what I'm saying? If it's something that would make them feel as if the officers was wrong, then it's something the officers must have did wrong. It is what it is. It's just amazing how they play games with the information when it makes the officers look bad. When the video exonerates the officers, man, it's on the 6 o'clock news. It's out within a day.
That is correct. Yep. You're exactly right. And you're reiterating some of the points that I've already made, you know, year after year after year. It's interesting how that always happens. When they're the heroes, you get the news immediately. When they're not, it's delayed. So, but I was kind of impressed a little bit with. I was kind of thrown because when the encounter happened, they interviewed some of the people of Beaver Creek, and the intelligent ones were the first thing they said. Well, why don't you just show us the video and we don't have to guess about what happened? You all have the video. Why won't you just release the video? It's as simple as that, and everybody will know what happened. So I was really impressed. And oftentimes the people, you know, they play on the intelligence of the people, and I think that that's a big mistake. I think that people are, for the most part, intelligent and kind of know what's going on, you know, and that kind of backfired on them. And so it was kind of enlightening to see, you know, some of the citizens around, the local citizens around Beaver Creek, how they responded to the issue regarding the tape and my son, the encounter of what happened, his murder.
Mr. Crawford, again, thank you for your time this morning. I know you're on your way to another interview. Can you just reiterate what's happening at 6 p.m. today? Is this open to the public and the media as well? Just so people know what to expect.
Absolutely. We're commemorating my son. This is the 6-year anniversary. This is just something that we do every year to pay our homage and respects to him. The citizens they come from all over, Springfield, Xenia, Dayton, and my understanding is the NAACP should be there today, representatives of the NAACP and some of the other organizations, you know. So yes, it's open to the public. You have a public invitation to join us as we commemorate a sacrificial lamb, if you will, and my son, in trying to help us to really engage in and get some reform out there, and to get the right people in office to enforce the law. And the ones who don't want to be there to enforce the law, to get them out. And if you don't want to do your job, you know, there's sanctions to come with that, you know, if you do it inappropriately. So absolutely, yeah, we'll be there starting at 6 o'clock today.
Well, Mr. Crawford, safe travels, and let's stay connected, sir, and I wish you the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah, most definitely.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You already know it's open door policy here, man. You already know. We are about the community and keeping it real. Somebody wrote on Facebook, who controls the media? That's why they didn't put the news out. Well, it depends on what media. We control the media here. That's why digital media, independent voices are so important. We don't have the same allegiances and we'll say challenges, hurdles that corporate media might have. You know what I'm saying? We can be of, for, and by the people. It's the Nathan Ivey Show, Sin Digital Media. Listen, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. I'll be back with you in less than 2 hours, teaming up with Donnie B with the Is It Just Me podcast. We're doing a joint podcast. We'll be speaking with the school superintendent, Laura Mitchell. She's been very gracious in her time this morning. And our conversation is going to start at 12. And the conversation with Laura Mitchell is scheduled to start at 12:30 p.m. this morning. Matter of fact, I got a graphic for you here. We can put up on the screen. All right. You can follow me on this particular page and on Facebook, and we'll make sure everybody gets a chance to see the screen. And I really appreciate you. So I want you to have an excellent rest of your day. I'll talk with you again very, very soon. Okay. We'll chop it up on everything that's going on tomorrow morning, regular time. Okay. We'll chop it up at 8 a.m. But again, special broadcast time, an extra broadcast today at 12 noon. And the conversation with Laura Mitchell will start at 12:30 p.m. So again, I love to see you there. If you miss it, you can't be there for whatever reason, it'll be up there. You can check it out later. So have an excellent rest of your day. We'll talk soon. I'll see you in just less than 2 hours if you're able to check out that live stream. When we get live, please like and share. Please share that live stream. Share this live stream so people can hear that conversation with Dron Crawford and get the truth about Mike DeWine. Everybody said he loved you. He loved the people. I don't think so. Or at least there's more to the story than what the mainstream press cares to even bring it. They don't even bring it up anymore. I think he handled it poorly. I think he did so because he was more pro-law enforcement than he was pro-justice. And I think an innocent man lost their life 6 years ago on this day in the state of Ohio because of a reckless and a racist 911 call. And that's the crux of the reason of why I started that petition here in the city of Cincinnati. And we want to push it to the state as well to stop the weaponization of police and protect our families. If you have not signed that petition, when you see it, please sign it. That's just the first step within the city of Cincinnati and the state of Ohio to make sure that someone doesn't have to die. And if someone makes another racist, reckless, biased phone call, then they go to jail. All right. That they deal with serious consequences. It's the Nathan Ivey Show. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And again, 12 noon today. Look for the live stream. All right. Don't go anywhere. Stay close, family. Have an excellent rest of your day. And we'll talk real soon. I'm Nathan Ivey, and I'm out.